That music there, so you can see the sign in front of me. I am in Benton, California, and I'm going to start a US 6 drive. Right now, as the sign says right there, I'm going towards Tonopah. And it should be a little over an hour to get there. And hopefully you get a chance to see Boundary Peak right in front of you back there. We'll be going over Montgomery Pass, just like it said. Hopefully, I hope to see some wild horses on this drive because the last couple times I've been through here, I've seen wild horses off to the side of the road, right off of the highway. I took some pictures of them both times. So keep your fingers crossed about that. So this is part of a larger drive. I'm going to Tonopah for the night. Then I'll be driving down. Mostly on Route 6. I'm going to deviate a little bit, go through the northern part of Death Valley, down to Ridgecrest, and then come back over the mountains to go back home. Really nice drive this afternoon. You can see there's a lot of cloud cover out. There's normally this time of year in California you don't really get any moisture, but it rained a couple of times in the mountains. There were actually some pretty dark clouds up there. So that's nice to get. I feel like I've lived in California long enough to appreciate rain and outside of the rainy season, like July, like it is right now. So, should point out off to the left up here, this is the Agricultural Inspection Station. And you don't have to go through it as you're leaving California, but as you enter it, you, and especially on less traveled highways like Route 6, you actually do have to talk to the guy. On interstates, usually they just kind of wave you through. You don't look like you have anything. But they're trying to pick up, parasites typically. They had a couple of really destructive parasites that got into California through imports. And, because the economy in the state is so reliant on agriculture, they instituted these checkpoints to make sure people don't have fruits and vegetables, and if they do, inspect them. Trucks coming in with produce have to be inspected. So there's, evidently it's worked. It seems like it worked at least. Maybe that'll keep us from getting murder hornets or whatever else comes down the pike next. So the drive today was nice. It was interesting because I got to go down Highway 120 over whatever pass that is between Benton and Lee Vining, which I hadn't really done before. If I've done it, I don't remember it because it's been a long time. But I had to drive over Montgomery Pass, which is Highway 108, instead of the more direct Tioga Pass. I would have preferred to do the Tioga Pass, not only because it's pretty, also because it's been a few years since I've been to Yosemite, but because of COVID, they've actually got restrictions in place with Yosemite. It's a reservation system. They're limiting the number of people in the park. It's very exclusive. July was booked out a long time ago, so that was it was not an option for me to drive through, unfortunately. So it added some time and some miles to my drive. I would have been willing to pay the $35 fee, but that wasn't an option this time. I'm happy to be back in my own car with this thing and doing narrations. The Iowa and Nebraska videos were done in a rental car in a Toyota Corolla, and it was so loud. And I kind of think it was the tires that were loud. I think they had put some cheap tires on there, and it was just, or maybe I'm just spoiled with my own car. My own car is pretty quiet. So the drive today, there's not a lot of highlights unless you like what you're kind of seeing now, creosote, kind of Great Basin desert landscape. We're going to cross into Nevada just up here. There's an abandoned hotel and truck stop at the top of Montgomery Pass. We'll pass another abandoned truck stop in Coaldale. And you probably won't be able to see anything. It kind of depends on how the sun is, but there's a big solar facility west of Tonopah. I don't remember the name offhand. Should be a pretty nice drive. This has never been, I've driven this stretch a number of times, never seen any traffic. It's one of these roads you can really, especially the right time of day or evening like this, Stop your car on the side of the road. Walk into the middle of the road, just lay down for, sometimes 5 minutes, and not worry about a car coming. And obviously you can hear cars coming from miles away. It's just not a well-trafficked road, even though there's not a lot of alternatives for it. I was thinking about how you would get from Las Vegas to Yosemite when I was driving down Highway 120 right there into Benton. And I think actually this is the best way to do it. I kind of think you come down from Tioga Pass, come over 120, and get on US 6 and go into 95. And here we go. Here's Nevada. So just that little bit of California and Nevada, and hopefully about an hour for Tonopah. So the decision to come out to Tonopah, I kind of wanted to go to Vegas, and I'm not much of a gambler. I don't particularly like casinos that much. There's something to be said. There's something kind of interesting about them to me, but because I don't really gamble, and I certainly don't play table games, it doesn't really do it for me. But as the last few times I've gone to Vegas, it's actually kind of made me like Vegas a little bit more. There's some interesting things going on there. I always get really good food when I go to Vegas, and I always appreciate that. But right now, Las Vegas and Clark County as a whole has a pretty high COVID infection rate, to the point that it's actually higher than per capita than the LA area, Los Angeles County at least. There's some municipalities in the LA area that are a lot higher, but Las Vegas is pretty high. Clark County as a whole. So I didn't want to take that risk. I think they made some mistakes in Nevada. I'm not going to go on a political rant or anything, but they opened up casinos, and people were because that's what they do, and that's how they make all their money. I just want to point out that route marker there, the mile marker there. That's relatively new. I want to say past 3 years. Those mile markers started appearing, and they're all over Nevada. So Nevada's trying to work to have nicer mile markers for whatever reason, get rid of the little green ones. It'd be nice if California followed suit. California's mile markers are kind of funny. They have a lot written on them. There's a lot of information. But anyway, Nevada, they opened back up the casinos, and cases exploded. I think people from outside, especially the LA area, came up and got the infection rates really high. So Tonopah is actually in 3 different counties, Nye, and I think the other 2 are White Pine and Esmeralda or Lincoln or Minerals, one of those. So it's in 3 different counties. Nye County, because it's such a large county, it's actually in land area, it's one of the largest counties in the country. It covers most of south central Nevada, including kind of I wouldn't necessarily call it a suburb, but it's kind of an exurb of Las Vegas called Pahrump. And Pahrump is very much connected to Vegas. So if Vegas cases spike as they have been, Pahrump is also going to spike, and that's likely what's happening with Nye County, because you look at I still got my lights on. Let's turn those off. You look at zip code rates. Tonopah is not that bad. Tonopah gets a lot of travelers, but people don't stay very long. Some people stay overnight. I doubt the hotels seem like they're kind of hurting for business. When I came here last year, or came to Tonopah last year rather, it was the hotel rates were a lot different. I ended up staying at reserving a room at this place that Well, I reserved it. I didn't pay for it because the place actually lets you roll dice to see if you can get a free room, and I rolled the dice correctly. So, and here I am not gambling, and I rolled those dice. But I mean, they kind of got their money back. I spent quite a bit of money at the bar that night. I just kind of sat and watched. They had live PD on a big projection screen, and I drank little glasses of Budweiser and kind of talked to the bartender. Kind of listened to some interesting folks in that area. Tonopah is a pretty weird town. It's I feel like I say that a lot. There's a lot of weird towns, but Tonopah is pretty weird. I don't particularly like going to Tonopah. Tonopah, I feel like, is what I would consider kind of a necessity city. It's a necessity town. It's so isolated that if you're driving across Nevada from Las Vegas to Reno, you almost have to, unless you're driving something that can get really good gas mileage, like a hybrid or like an electric vehicle, you have to stop in Tonopah for gas. Then again, if you're driving an electric vehicle, you're probably going to have to stop in Tonopah anyway, because there's not a lot of chargers out there. It's a pretty desolate area. And with that, they've got a few overpriced gas stations, and they've got I should say overpriced. It's not as bad as actually some of the places I passed through this evening. Like I went to Bridgeport. Bridgeport's actually a really nice town. It's very pleasant. I got a great meal at this little restaurant. I wish I could remember the name of it right now. But the gas is just ridiculous. I mean, it's almost double what you pay on the other side of the mountains. So, I'm not I can step behind this truck. I don't know if I want to just go around them. No, I'm not going to go around them. I'll just talk. So there's the ridiculously priced gas. There's a few hotels, and there's some expensive restaurants. I don't want to generalize too much, but I've eaten at a few restaurants in Tonopah, and they've never been good. The food has just not been good. There's actually a little brew pub out there. The beer is fine. What's interesting about Tonopah, and just and thinking about the beer, it's so a couple of Californians who own a Napa winery own that, and they actually own a lot of the town. They own the hotel I'm going to be in tonight. They own at least one other hotel in town. They own that brew pub. They own, I think there's a restaurant they own. So, and it's not a very big town, so there's not a lot of businesses. So you got, a couple of motels that are, a few businesses that are outside of their realm, but not that many. Okay, so here's Montgomery Pass, and we'll be passing. You can kind of see the start of it up here, the kind of abandoned spots back here. There's still people living up here. And, who knows what they're doing. That actually looks like a Caltrans maintenance facility. Maybe there's not even anybody living there full time. But so there's the maintenance facility, and there's the abandoned motel and truck stop. You can see there's been at least one fire. Taking it down. The other side of the highway also has some houses. So that's been there for years and years and years. There's I've read the history on it. You can go do that. You can go look it up. The Montgomery Pass truck stop, hotel, whatever. There's not much of a story to it. It was just someone opened it. They built it. It was around for a while, and then it closed. Then I think somebody tried to open it and closed again. Once we get to Coaldale, which is about midway between Benton and Tonopah, there's a little bit more to the story with that truck stop.